The longness of my life.
So I was going to say, carry on if we stop down one thing.
Literally. I'm presenting something that I don't even know anything about.
You're presenting something. Okay.
Yeah, since we're like, I don't really know. It's like, I don't know why you set me this task.
Who are you
Does it look
presenting
like
it
I'm
to, though? That's the question.
Does it look like I'm capable to do this?
I think it depends who your audience is and are they likely to know any more than you do about it.
Probably. Senior management.
Oh. I'm not going to comment. I don't get to present stuff to senior management. Probably a good job, actually.
I just feel like, look, I don't know why you didn't give me enough time to do anything. You expect to do stuff.
Good luck with it.
I think I need it. I'll just be a friend if you're updating that.
Yeah, no, don't worry. There's not really another version that we're expecting.
Oh.
So, how are you?
Yeah, alright, thanks.
Good day yesterday.
Where was I yesterday? Oh yeah, Leeds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't very, didn't get much out of it though. No. Unfortunately. I think the only thing that's really that I got out of it is like, you know, like to build a stakeholder sort of relationship. That's about it really. Yeah.
Did you want to use project or anything for you?
I haven't actually done a presentation.
That's okay. You didn't have to. An explanation is fine. Just chill. We just want to know what you've been doing and what your findings are and your thoughts
Okay, so
and just explain your opportunity really.
there are like quite a number of opportunities. So my task that I was assigned was looking into TTM, and like the actual task said, for example, like robotic cones, interactive studs, things like that. But the issue with that is that it's sort of I'm given the solution, which is what was the difficulty in doing my PAT, because I'm trying to justify like this is like a new technology, and you know, where can we use it, sort of thing. Whereas like I wanted to understand what TTM means to like HE as a business, and like how it's built, the background of it, and like the challenges of like actually putting it in place, and where the real opportunities are that are going to hit the strategic intent, so making the customers happy, or you know, actually delivering. Whereas that would only be really possible if you're removing the TTM or decreasing the amount of time that it takes that you're actually doing the TTM as well. So those really are the opportunities. Even though, before I started, I know that I was given that article, that Valorant article about interactive studs. I was trying to work out the technology for that. So I looked at a few technologies, and the one that I think it might be is RFID. So I looked into RFID. There were quite a number of challenges with my this research pack, because I wanted to firstly I needed to know, I didn't know who the right stakeholders were. So trying to find that information out firstly, that was difficult. I still haven't got in touch with all the right people. Like, for example, I've seen it from a road workers safety sort of perspective, but not a road users perspective yet. I think if I were to do this again, I would have gone for speaking to the area teams first, because they're the ones that actually know about the innovations. But saying that, even though they do know, and I was speaking to governance about it, Debbie Booterman, who's in IDF, she mentioned to me that a lot of the things that they're currently doing are commercially sensitive. So even though I've found that information out, I haven't actually been able to put it into the research pack, just because it's they can't actually publish the what they're doing, their ideas or anything like that, until it's actually until it's actually gone through. So some of the things that I've found, so when I was actually researching, I found it really difficult to actually find the right information, up-to-date information, because a lot of the things that are available are it takes it looks like it takes a couple of years for it to actually be published, and then it was most things you have to pay for, and the things that most research articles you either have to pay for to actually view, or if not, it's about 3, 4, 5 years old, things like that. You can't really find anything recent. When I was speaking to the research department in innovations as well, they were saying the same thing. So to help with finding new innovations, I think that what we could do is perhaps look at a framework for universities and research institutes, where they are actually on a framework, rather than we having these long memorandum of understandings that are just drawn out and take a really long time to actually organise. Because right now, because I know part of my objective, my task was speak to universities and speak to manufacturers as well, to find out what new products there are and opportunities. But I've just found it so difficult in trying to understand where the relationships are and how we're supposed to actually approach external stakeholders as well at the same time. So I didn't want to, do that incorrectly either. But when I was speaking to innovations and a few other people, they've said that what they tend to do is go through SPATs instead, and there's suppliers on there or something, and then they use universities through that supply chain. So I think that would be one of the opportunities in there. I was speaking to different people in PDD, and depending on who I'm speaking to, I'm getting different opinions of what they actually cover, what they don't cover. So there are problems with, as far as I know, there's problems with temporary speed cameras, consistency of quality. They've had issues in the past with litigations and things as well with temporary speed camera suppliers. But one of because it was so difficult to find out what they're actually doing, Adam Selman and Caroline Hinchcliffe, even though I did actually do a structured questionnaire to try and draw it out as well. But once I've sort of kind of questioned more to try and find out, they are looking just more at the products than anything else. But they've mentioned themselves as well, the way that they look at it is based on risk and spend. I was going to prioritise the one that I look at by spend, and I tried to get in touch with a few people to find out the spend of TTM, but I wasn't able to. I haven't been able to get in touch with those people yet. So I don't know when that will be, or if I'm hoping to get it for the next stage, for this stage anyway. But that's how they do their methodology of looking at products, but they did mention that is something that is probably a value chain opportunity there, is their initial, how they decide which products that they actually look at. Collaboration between directorates. So, for example, MP and like OD, they don't seem to talk to one another about road closures. I haven't been able to get any data on how many road closures, like, and how often, and like any patterns there. But from like speaking to other people on the reasons why they get closed and like space utilisation, which is one of the main things that I think we need to sort of optimise. So internal collaboration between directorates so that we can better utilise TTM space when TTM is out. Also with external bodies as well, like utility providers. So my main focus on this was actually in RFID locking sensors. So one of the things that I was looking at for utility providers, which is actually mentioned in like some government papers as well in the past, is using the sensors on underground assets. So there are situations where when we're actually doing like projects, sometimes they do like a cable strike where they like hit a pipe or a wire or whatever it is, so you can actually tag them instead so you can locate it. There's another thing that they're doing as well. They're looking into Chris Batty's team where they're using like drones with like some sort of, I wrote the actual name of the technology in this, but I can't remember what it is now. And they can actually view what's underneath the ground there as well. But they're piloting that at the moment. They're researching it with like a consortium of like universities. And design as well. There were loads of opportunities that I found from this, to be honest. So design, so how TTM is designed. I did actually speak to one of the external contractors as well, and even with when I was speaking to Caroline, who speaks a lot to suppliers and things, she mentioned that they don't tend to know about where to lay the TTM out and to design it until really late. So that is an issue that tier ones should really be resolving.
Is all this in the research pack?
Yeah, some more recommendations at the bottom. It's throughout the research pack, and then it's in the bottom in the recommendations. And then data. I've just been frantically updating it, so I don't know. I've probably changed it about 20 times since you've had it. Okay, so whole life costing, that was another application for RFID as well. There's loads of applications for it, so you can look at like cracks in the road. You can you can mix it with certain materials, so you can identify if there are cracks in the road. They can be maintained quicker, because the information can go to whoever the MSPs are or something. They'll be able to locate it quicker. They can sort of rectify it as well. For working windows as well for TTM, there's opportunities for us to partner with like a number of data owner sort of companies. Like there's Waze, Waze the app, and I've wrote like a few other ones in that technology section as well. That's so that we can, because at the moment we're not really optimizing that time that we're yeah. Sorry, yeah.
So how are you proposing that working window gets optimised with RFID?
not through RFID. That's just like it's something different.
Opportunity.
Mainly, like 80% of this is obviously looking at RFID, but then I've come across some other opportunities at the same time that I think, you know, these things would, because you can use it through RFID at the same time. Like certain things, like you can track the number of vehicles. We could do that using RFID, but rather than us actually putting in that infrastructure ourselves, you could actually buy it from elsewhere, or you can partner with other companies. Like there's so many other companies that do have that data. Even like, for example, like National Express. Apparently there's been talks with them for us to share their data. I know there's going to be like companies like you know, like the like freight sort of companies, like whoever it is, like UK Mail or Royal Mail or whatever. We could share their information. They're going to have a lot of information, but
What information
that would
are you talking about sharing?
about how much information there are on, like, you know, for example, like vehicles, how many vehicles that are going per hour, or, you know, outside of the SRN. So if then we can understand like when to plan like roadworks as well, and what times they are planned.
So do you know how we do that currently? Say Highways
There
England.
are,
Highways
there are,
England
we do, but it's not done very well.
Okay, so I just said we've been about for years. Yeah, we're not just sort of waiting
Yeah.
on yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
So don't you think we do that? Have you not spoken to anybody to say how we do that? How we
No,
optimise?
I have. I was speaking to one of the analysts, Chris Collett, who actually was working on working windows, but all the things that they've created, there's like a lot of, it's like really well documented, but they don't actually use that information, and a lot of the like, you know, the software that they have, so even though, and a lot of the stuff that they do use, the technology, it's like broken. So even with like when they're counting like the number of vehicles, like every 15 minutes or so, it's like even like the loops underneath the ground, there's so many that are broken. They're like, they count the wrong number of vehicles. Like on HGVs, they do like too many. And
You've got that as, so somebody, you've got that in your research bag.
Yeah.
That someone's turned around and said to you, actually, we
Yeah.
can't actually, the data out there that we got is incorrect.
Well, no, the data is basically, it is incorrect. It says, like, I've wrote it in there. It's it counts too less. It counts too few vehicles, but with HGVs it counts too many.
Okay.
And then when they actually are redoing certain roads, what they tend to do is they, I can't remember how he described it, but they get rid of the loops underneath as well, so they're not able to count it. But rather than, and it's an expensive process as well to actually re-put it in, so rather than doing that, we could actually partner with companies who already have that information.
So where would they get it from?
So, pardon?
Where would they get the information from?
Well, they already there's like different companies that have it. So there's like there is one. Oh,
That doesn't. I'm saying. So what technology are they using? Because you said we use
there's
the loops on
different
the road,
ones. There's
which
like
don't work.
Bluetooth ones. There's like an area in, I can't remember where it was. I think it was like Manchester or something. There's like, they've got Bluetooth. I don't know, something on the traffic signals. There's like Datex. There was, I can't remember what the names of them are.
No, you don't have to remember the
They're,
names.
they're
I'm just
in
saying,
here though. Anyway.
So there's other technology other people are using which is more reliable, is what you're saying.
Than
The worrying
ours,
thing
yeah.
is
Well, we
that-
can partner with them, and then we could use that to better.
Yeah, that's fine. So I understand. So that's a solution you've given us, to say partner with somebody else and use their data which is more reliable than the data we've got.
Yeah.
Or use it as referencing to make sure checking, validating our
Yeah.
data.
Because it will help with like working out, like, you know, like those outcomes, like free flowing network and like the availability. It will help contribute towards that.
So you mentioned that the data given off on the loops is incorrect.
Yeah.
That's worrying, because the way smart motorways works is those loops will detect number of vehicles, size, weight, and those trigger off then the speed limits on the gantries. So if that's incorrect, then we're not operating
They are. Yeah, there's like
correctly. We're bringing traffic to a slow or a standstill.
It's not optimising it. But no,
Yeah.
it's fine. I'm just saying, you had a 10-minute presentation.
there's like quite a few. It's in the recommendation.
Okay. I'm just saying, we've gone 15 minutes.
Oh,
so,
okay, sorry.
Yeah, so I just wanted you to be, so we've gone 15 minutes into this time. Everyone's going to have a 10-minute sort of 15-minute
Okay.
slot, and then there's Q&A. So that's why some of the Q&A started. So that was, so don't want you to feel we're pushing you. It's just that we've gone into the Q&A area because this is the bit where we'll start asking you some questions on the research. So
Okay, go ahead.
I was just saying, one of the things on the research, so your biggest finding or the biggest problem or concern or worry for Highways England, what would you say is out of the whole of that research to do with TGM? Because that's what your research back was on. Or your top 3, if you can't name down to one.
Top 3, okay. I think it's going to be data, definitely.
Okay. You don't have to do any more if you just want to leave it at data.
No, there's I'm just thinking of which could be the top 3. Creating.
Also, the next question on that would be, you've got evidence. to back
Driving
that
the
up.
right. Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
It's in there. Driving the right attitudes and behaviours through commercial and procurement,
Okay.
like upstream through the supply chain, rather than rewarding just based on like costs.
Okay. So if you go to your recommendations, your page 105 or whatever, so if you take,
Yeah,
pick
it
up the
is.
2 or 3, the highlighted ones. So if you're going to pick up, there's quite a few you've got in there, which is great. I'm just thinking, just at those recommendations, if you said the top 3, so one's data, one's driving the right behaviours.
Yeah.
So is there another one? If you
I'm
haven't,
trying to
that's fine.
think. I'm trying to pick one that was actually. Okay, the framework with research institutes. I think we need that.
Okay. Just saying. So do you know what? Do you know what SPATS is?
I've got a meeting with somebody tomorrow to find out more about what it actually is.
Okay.
But like, on something about like how we could speak to like a specialist skill person, like a consultant or whatever it is. But when I was speaking to other people, they said that they're using that as like a sort of way around having a contract with.
We're having to contract with the people on SPATS, and then they subcontract with the universities.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have
And
to
it's-
use this memorandum of understanding,
But
which
they're
the universities
really-
won't sign up to.
Yeah, and they take such a long time to actually do, and it's like impeding us
Okay.
doing research at the same time.
Just say SPATS is a framework, first of all. Just to confirm, it is
Yeah.
SPATS is a framework that we use for technical support or any advice that we need. So it's already a framework. The only thing is, the framework probably, what you're saying, is a fit for purpose for a piece of work.
It's not for contracting directly with
I
the
haven't looked at SPATs, but I know that there are issues with the
There's a new
getting
SPATS coming out,
research.
so if we can feed into that to say the new SPATS should allow another column, which is just with research institutes or something like that, so we can have another area put in it.
Okay.
It's probably the easiest way to do it. 'Cause SPATS is a way of us as contracting with somebody. It's a framework that's already allows us to work with people.
Okay.
So there is a rebate. It's just with not what managers, there were specialist people that we already knew when that was put in all those years ago. So now we just need to modernise it and make it relevant to where we need to be working today. Or it'd be a standalone framework. Because every time you go
I
with a
think
framework,
needs
it
to
takes a
be
long
like-
time.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to set one up,
Yeah.
and then it costs a lot of money.
Because I think there's like 12, with TTM there's like 12 universities that are like the top universities for that research.
Okay.
But yeah, I think in general, like I need to find out more about it. That's why I've got that meeting with that person tomorrow to find out.
Can I just ask what your approach was with deciding? You said you found it really difficult deciding stakeholders. So
Oh,
what
I've got like, I
methodology
haven't
you
actually, I should have, this is what I was supposed to do, sorry, I was supposed to include like the table. Because my first thing was I was going to base like prioritise the one that I actually look at. You know, like the task, it said like, for example, like robotic cones or whatever. And then the one that I was going to look at was going to be based on like risk and like spend, but I found the risk category, the risk, how PDD determine the risk of a product, but like they've said themselves that they think that could be something that we could look at for them. But like for spend wise, I couldn't find the spend. So I've basically done it by, it's not been structured at all. It's been a case of I've been recommended by somebody to go to somebody else about something else. So I've said, you know, this is my research part, this is what I'm trying to look into. And then every time somebody's actually said to me, actually this person will be really good and they'll be able to give you this angle. So I started off with, you know, when I came to yourselves and you mentioned go to health and safety. And then from there I went to, I haven't been able to speak to Paul Goward yet.
Sorry, I said go to
Yeah, health and safety was the first person of yourselves. So when I spoke to health and safety, then I understood it from the road workers' perspective. They told me about innovations, and I've put it in like a table of how I got to where I got to. Thanks for your
got a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Now, so everyone's got time. There's a time slot for everybody.
Okay.
So if there's anything you think, if there's anything you want to get across to us in the last sort of 30 seconds, or anything you think that's important that we need to be relevant. If that hasn't been, we can say, well, I think I've named it, and that's it. But if there's anything you'd like
if
to
I
tell
was
us.
to go and sell this opportunity now, this research pack,
Yeah.
to Martin Gannicott
Yeah.
and to David Picton,
Yeah.
what perspective should I take from it? What is it that I'm going and telling them to do?
The actual recommendations, not so much the actual RFID. The reason why is because I've done RFID just for the case of, you know, like the actual task was look at these solutions sort of thing. So I was looking at I was solutioneering, I wasn't optioneering basically. So it's not really about the RFID, because we're actually doing a lot to do with sensors at the moment. That Valor and stuff that innovations department are doing, that's all commercially sensitive, but I don't know which thing that is. I'm not like an electronic engineer. I don't know anything about, you know, what is the best thing for. So I've just done it to the best of my knowledge. I'm not an expert in it.
No.
So it would be that you should leave with innovations. The actual recommendations are in the end, I'd say approach Martin Gannicott with those instead.
Okay.
So the opportunity case going forward,
There's like about 30 in there.
well, you can combine them into one opportunity, all in relation to TTM.
They're very different though.
Okay, so that's something we'll explore.
Okay.
So what's the TTM opportunity I'm taking to Martin Gannicott?
There's, I don't know. There's so many. There's quite a number of them.
Okay, I'm saying it was only sort of like just to get your mind, how you're thinking, how you've gone through stuff, so it's great.
Okay.
That was things that you produced. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Serena. Thank you. Tom, David.
See you later. See you.